In this episode of The Mind Pump, we start out by having our introductory fun conversation. This is where we talk about current events and we talk about studies and things that we read about. And then we get into the fitness portion of this episode where we answer fitness, health, fat loss, and muscle building questions. Here's what we talked about in the first 45-minute intro portion of this episode. We started by talking about Adam's testosterone test. He did another Everly Well at-home testosterone test just to see where his testosterone levels were at. Now, Everly Well is one of our sponsors, and they make many, many tests. They make food intolerance tests, which we talk about in this episode as well. They do all kinds of hormone testing. It's at home, no doctor's prescription required. They're very inexpensive. You do the test at home, super easy, mail it in, get your results. Now, we are sponsored by Everly Well, and we have a discount for you. If you go to Everly Well, that's EverlyWell.com and use the code MindPump, you'll get 15% off any test. Then we talk about Adam's sex life. It's going downhill, apparently.
All right.
I talked about working out super early at the gym this morning and the old guys in the sauna and the jokes that they tell. That was a good time. Adam brought up Apple's new credit card. Apparently, they have a credit card that will give you cash back or discounts on all the stuff that you use already, which I think is brilliant. Justin brought up a movie that he's excited to watch starring his favorite actor, Logan Paul.
Man. I am not excited about
He talked about the trip that he made out to D.C. to film some awesome content with Ben Pullock.
Yeah.
I talked about the world's first GMO probiotic and how it could cure hangovers. That's crazy. And then I talked about the lesser-known cannabinoid CBC and how it may benefit your health, and how combining cannabinoids is probably the best way to use them. You want to take advantage of what's known as the entourage effect. Now, we work with a company called Ned, and they produce hemp oil extract that has all the cannabinoids from the hemp plant. So it's not just CBD. It also has CBG, CBC, and all the other cannabinoids. So you get better results. We have a discount for you. If you go to HelloNed, that's HelloNed.com/mindpump, you will get 15% off your first purchase. Also, if you go to YouTube, we have a new video called How to Start Squatting. And there's a free guide that's available with that. Make sure you go check that out on our YouTube channel, Mind Pump TV. Then we got to the fitness portion of this episode. The first question was, what's the best way to measure body fat percentage? So we talk about all the different ways to measure body fat. You have calipers, underwater weighing, there's bioelectric impedance. Which one's the most accurate and how should you use those for best results? The next question, this person has a young child, a 9-year-old daughter, who wants to start working out in the gym. How should they start? Should they use bands, free weights, or body weight movement? So we talk all about training young up-and-coming athletes and your kids. The next fitness question, this person wants to know how more trainers and coaches can become more successful. How can they get their businesses to flourish? So we talk all about effective communication skills and the other skills needed to become a successful trainer and coach. And the final question, this person wants to know what our scariest experiences were in the gym. So there's all kinds of different stories that we talk about.
Your story with the clown, crazy story.
Also, this month, MAPS Starter is 50% off. Now, MAPS Starter is the workout program designed for beginners and people who haven't lifted weights for a little while. So if you want to get all the benefits that you can get from resistance training, you want to build muscle, sculpt your body, speed up your metabolism, help your body burn body fat, but you don't know where to start. Resistance training, super effective, but it can be quite confusing. MAPS Starter is a perfect program. It gets you started the right way. Here's the best part. You don't need a gym to do this program. All you need is a physio ball and dumbbells. That's it. You could do the whole program with just those two pieces of equipment. Now, if you're advanced, MAPS Starter is a wonderful gift idea for friends or family members who need to get started with resistance training. And trainers, this is a great program for reference for when you train complete beginners. Now, here's how you get the 50% off discount. Go to mapsstarter.com. That's MAPSSTARTER.com and use the code STARTER50. STARTER50, no space for the discount.
So I just shared my results. I got the
whoa, what kind of results? I'm afraid.
I know. I got 6 months.
Oh, sad, bro.
Not really. 6 months. We could do a lot.
We could actually.
Yeah, we're gonna
you know how many
plan
programs
some
we'd sell?
things.
Yeah. Try to capitalize off my death.
Yeah.
You would.
Adam's last moments.
Yeah. It's a fire sale.
Fire sale.
Adam's final days.
The final day.
Help support Adam's medical bills.
Yeah. We keep it all though. That's messed up.
I would want you guys to do that.
Of course.
How would you guys want your funeral to go down? Like I want you guys to like when I go, if I go first. Actually, you're probably gonna go
everybody
first.
get really drunk.
Why are you looking at me? I'm gonna go first.
Hey, how
'Cause
old?
I'm the oldest.
How old did Sal look, or how young did Sal look in that post I just did?
Hey,
Oh
bro,
wow! I
can
know,
Wow.
right? Both of you guys.
Can I say
I'm
something
sorry,
right now?
bro,
Dude,
but
we ate
yeah.
Was it really 4 years ago?
Or 4 or 5,
Bro, are we did we step into the Matrix? We're aging in dog years.
No, dude.
It's all this accelerated activities. we've
Some
been doing.
asshole said something. I said, "Hey, fuck, bro. You know what? Low testosterone and a divorce will fucking do that to you."
Yeah, dude.
You know what I'm saying?
I look like, when presidents go into office and they come out, like, whoa.
Yeah, like, whew.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that was a lot of stress.
No, I
huh?
think I used to dye my hair a little bit, and that was one of the times when I dyed it.
Oh, really?
'Cause I had white-
Oh,
I-
I told people that was al natural.
No, I've had white hair since I was 20.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
remember you.
Me
I
too,
don't.
dude.
I don't remember
Yeah.
it being dyed.
Yeah.
I remember yours coming in. It was already coming in when you were working for me.
and I was like dyeing it back then, like just out of like I had to, try and stay relevant.
You know what sucks about dyeing your hair is that when you stop, it's all of a sudden. Everyone's like, what happened, dude?
Yeah,
Because they missed the gradual, the gradual
It
movement.
had been there.
My hair was dyed. Adam's just was dead.
It was.
Fuck you.
Indeed.
It just jumped out.
Yeah, they gave up full gave up.
My hair's
yeah.
like, we're going to hold on. We're just
Yeah.
going to lose pigment.
right.
Adam's hair's like, I'm out. That's messed up.
Yeah, we look a lot younger, man.
Way more handsome.
Yeah, way
I'm
more.
like, Jesus.
way more
What
handsome
happened? I'm
is
so
right.
glad my girl's with me.
Yeah.
I don't want to show her that picture. See what she missed.
Yeah, right.
So what's the deal with your test? What did you test your hormones again?
Yeah, so I had the men's test. So this one, okay, I was really curious because I did it on purpose in the middle of this, Maximus's birth. So this has been I took it about 3-4 weeks ago. So I'm like right in the middle.
No sleep.
Yeah, no sleep or nothing. So, and I would say that my training was really consistent and good leading up to his birth. Even the first, when I was talking shit, remember I was talking shit, I was feeling pretty good for the first probably two
we
weeks.
remember.
Yeah, I think you're on adrenaline for the first like 2-3 weeks. You're like on a baby high.
You're still on it.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you.
No. I am not on it.
Hey.
Maybe it's supposed to last longer for people, but I'm definitely not on no adrenaline no more.
We'll talk again in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like it's all gone.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
I am empty.
So I did. I know that, right? So I didn't anticipate to see major improvement, although I've been on this long journey of, trying to slowly, naturally increase my testosterone levels ever since I came off of synthetic testosterone. November will be 3 years. So I'm already
Unbelievable.
I know it doesn't feel like it's flown by, but it kind of does. Like it's
3 years is a long time.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. You've had like a stack there, but just have not.
Yeah, I still
been
have
tempted.
and I'm very tempted right now, to be honest, because this test came back. Well, let me read you guys the results, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on everything like that, and then maybe Sal can try and convince me otherwise, and then I'll just ignore what he has to say. So
Sounds like an everyday thing.
This Everly Well test, this is my favorite because it doesn't do just testosterone. It does DHEA, estradiol, and
Cortisol?
Cortisol.
This is the men's health test.
Yeah, this is the men's health test. So it's a little bit more expensive, but you get all of those things in there, which I'm interested in that too, right? Especially cortisol with everything going on, right? So my cortisol came back 4.5, and normal range is 1.5 to 9.6. So
right in the middle.
So I'm almost dead middle for cortisol. So
That's good.
I feel like that's pretty good, right?
It is.
Because with cortisol, you don't want to be flatlined,
No.
and you don't want to be super high.
Yes,
right.
I'm glad you said that. Cortisol plays a very important role in our health, and having no cortisol, you would feel fucking terrible. You'd be dead, tired. It's like extreme fatigue.
So would you say
Poor
like
health.
Especially
that
in the morning, right?
that would probably be one of the areas I would want to be dead center. I wouldn't even want to be kind of high on that.
No, you want to be right in the middle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I was happy with that, especially considering the lack of sleep, because a lot of times that throws off cortisol pretty bad.
Sure, the stress, all that stuff. Absolutely.
Right. So cortisol being right at 4.5, I was really happy with. DHEA, I was on the kind of normal high end. So Normal range is 42 to 578. I was 500.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, because DHEA is it's like one of those parent hormones. It can get turned into testosterone. It can get turned into estrogen. It's a good sign of healthy, youthful hormone levels. As we age, DHEA goes down. So the fact that yours is in the upper middle range is good.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong too. This is good for like my hair health too, right? So like if I was like, isn't this affected? Like if I were to take like Masteron, doesn't it affect DHT?
No, you're thinking DHT.
Oh, it's DHT.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not testing your DHT is testosterone will get converted to DHT. DHT is a very androgenic hormone, which so it gives you the masculinizing effects, the aggression, the sex drive, lowering the voice, all that kind of stuff. And the reason why some men lose their hair or get prostate enlargement, for example, and other men don't, it has more to do with the concentration of DHT receptors in those spots versus the fact that they may have elevated DHT. Now, when you go on Masteron, which is a anabolic steroid that's derived from DHT, which, and why do people take Masteron? It hardens the body, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's, DHT's got those qualities. That's why you see like hair, like if you're prone for hair loss, you take Masteron, you're going to lose your fucking hair.
Yeah.
But no, DHEA would go DHEA, and then that would get converted to testosterone or estrogen, and then your body would take the testosterone and convert it to DHT, but this isn't testing that.
Okay. And then estradiol, normal range would be 0.4 to 3.3. I was closer to the normal high end on that at 2.9, but still in the normal range.
Okay.
And then I'm assuming that's another area where I probably want to be as dead center as I can be on that.
You don't want to be
super low. Do you want to be super high?
No, too low. You have crushed libido. You have mood issues. So bodybuilders who take what are called anti-aromatase drugs.
Like Arimidex or Novadex.
Yeah. One of the side effects of that is they feel like shit, their joints hurt, and then they won't even build as much muscle. So some estrogen is needed to build muscle.
How's your libido doing these days?
We'll get to that. Free testosterone.
Oh, man, you're holding out on me.
We're working our way that way right now.
I just want to know the interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second here. Free testosterone. Okay, so this is the last one. Normal range is 49 to 185. I'm on the normal low end of this. I'm 84, which the last time I did this, I believe I was 87 or 89. So I'm about the same, a tiny bit lower.
You know what that makes me think is that, because here's what I would anticipate. I would have anticipated that your testosterone would have continued to go up a little bit. But when you combine that with the fact that you're a new dad, and by the way, this is well documented, new fathers' testosterone levels decline by something like on average 15 to 25%, I think, something like that.
Is it that high?
Yeah.
That gives me a little bit of hope.
It's a consistent measurement. You can look this up. If you Google fatherhood lowers testosterone, you'll see that. Now, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that you created a child. I think it has everything to do with the fact that you have a child. All of a sudden, you're more stressed out.
Yeah.
You're not getting as much sleep.
Overwhelmed.
Diet is probably different. You're not working out as much.
Not having sex as much.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that your testosterone hovered right around the same is actually a really good sign.
Well, and this is the only thing that's keeping me from, again, not hopping on the stack right now is because I kind of told myself, hey, if I can once I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, if I was starting to see some sort of a positive effect, I finally got into the at least low to normal range. I thought, okay, if I can still start, inching my way up, if I'm seeing any progress at all, test over test, I'm going to keep heading this direction. I'm going to avoid using synthetic testosterone. This is the first time that I've tested the last 3 that I've kind of gone back a tiny bit. Now, it wasn't a lot. It was just a tiny bit. And I do know that I am taking it at probably one of the most naturally low times that I would take it in this last 6 months. So I do have a little more hope. I am going to test again. I am going to stay natural for longer and see if I get better over the next 2 to 3 months. Trying to do some, be more consistent with a few things that
I tell you what, this is bringing so much value to so many people to hear you talk about this because it takes a long time. If you've been on synthetic hormones, it can take a long time for your body to normalize. It took you over a year before they started to come back to normal.
No, well over a year. It was closer to the 2-year mark when we finally started to see some positive effects. I was in the dumpster for a year. I finally felt like I got out of the dumpster at the year mark, and then about a year and a half saw some positive swing up. At the 2-year mark, I started to jump into the normal low range, and now I've been kind of hanging around the normal low range, and I've seen positive swings up until this test right here. I've seen my first kind of slight step back in the free testosterone.
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't go way down. I'm surprised that it didn't go, that you didn't notice a huge drop in the test. I think you would have gone up if it wasn't for, like, if you were getting the same good sleep, you were doing all the other stuff you were doing before,
Right, yeah.
I bet we would have seen a jump.
To Justin's question, I mean, I definitely noticed the libido getting, kind of fucked over a little bit. But I mean, that's just,
that's pretty normal.
yeah, I don't think dads really have sex, do they?
I mean, wow.
You do, bro.
We've been trying to tell you.
It comes back, dude.
Well,
like,
I mean,
it's just fun to jab at it because I know what it's like when it's like a major shift like that.
I can't quite seem to get excited. I've got Katrina over here. She comes. This is how this goes down. This is literally last night, right? So I'm on the bottom floor, right? I go to the couch, and so we're doing this. We're now at his phase where we're sleep training him now, right? So we let him cry for a little bit, and he actually is sleeping 7 hours some nights.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're already.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're making some headway right now. So I'm pretty excited, right? So obviously that's the first step, and then dad gets sex later, right? So now, like, we're putting him down at like 9 o'clock at night, which before it was like I had the shift till midnight or 1, so I'm actually getting into bed. I got into bed last night, or downstairs. I'm laying in bed at 9:30, which has been phenomenal because I haven't had this time to myself at nighttime. So I'm laying in bed, okay. I'm chewing on Mike and Eggs, by the way. I just got
to paint the picture.
Yeah, okay. I had a leftover box. This is how my brain works too. So I'm like sucking on a Mike and Ike. I'm laying in bed in the dark, and
wait, right before bed in the dark, you're just eating candy.
You're eating candy in the dark by yourself?
7 years old?
Well, no. Well, listen.
That's the saddest thing ever.
Ridiculous.
No, hey, listen, Linda.
It's better than a bottle of whiskey. I guess.
Listen, Linda.
What are you wearing, by the way?
We'll get there too. Okay.
All right.
This is a new step for me. Okay. When Katrina and I went to Sanctuary, our place that we love to go up to in Monterey, sometimes, not every time we go, but sometimes we go. One of the nights we'll kind of splurge and we'll buy some candy or popcorn, and we'll rent a pay-per-view. They do the pay-per-view movies in this place, and we'll sit by the fire and waves crashing and fucking eat candy like 12-year-olds and fucking enjoy ourselves, right? Like, this is so super rare. We don't have candy in my house anymore. And now I've admitted on this podcast I had a major candy addiction for a long time. So every once in a while, this is what we do. Now, the newest evolution to this addiction to candy that I've had is, can I have this shit and not crush the whole thing? So this is actually a leftover box of Mike and Ike's that has not been finished by me.
Oh, good for you.
And so this new habit that I have is, like, if I have this, I want it, I'll go get a couple of them, put them in my mouth, and I'll suck on them. Okay, so fuck off, both of you.
All right.
Okay, so this,
no problem.
So this is
Yeah, suck on stuff sometimes.
right. So this is me working that I could have a box of candy in my house.
We're sorry. We don't mean to fat shame you. Sorry about that. I feel bad now.
So I just painted the picture here. I'm laying in bed. I'm sucking on my Mike and Ike's. And actually, what happens to be going through my head right now, of all the things, is our interview coming up next month with Bishop Barron. I love the first one. I have so many more things I want to ask him. And this is kind of what I was doing before I had a kid. I work out a lot of this stuff in my head at nighttime. I lay in bed and I think about questions that I want to ask, and what will that lead to, and how he'll probably answer that, and is that good? And
Sure.
So I'm doing that. I'm just like, I'm super deep into thought. I also smoked a little bit before I went to bed, so I'm like way in this moment. And then, like, all of a sudden I hear the steps. Here comes Katrina, like, runs downstairs, like full on mounts me. As she's holding her phone in her hand like that, and she's like, "Let's go, we can have some sex right now."
Wow.
Yes. And I'm like, so, and yeah,
so that's really weird that you weren't able to get excited after thinking about a Catholic bishop really deeply.
So this is what leads me.
I would have never guessed.
Because she got a little upset that I wasn't able to turn it on right away, right? Because she's just like, "Honey, let's go," right?
Yeah.
And mind you, too, she's holding the monitor in her left hand, right? She's like trying to suck my face and like get me to get in the mood, right? And
my God!
So I could hear my son rustling around in my ear. She's trying to get me in the mood, and I'm like not feeling it. And she's like, "Hun." Like giving me, and I'm like, "Sweetheart, can I just tell you what I was literally doing before you walked down here?" Okay. I wasn't deep in Pornhub. I wasn't like, I wasn't having a wet dream and you came in and interrupted. I was literally thinking about Bishop Barron and the questions that I want to ask him, and I was running them through my head, and you just came down here and you wanted me to switch gears right away.
Yeah, it's a hard left turn.
We laughed about
She's
it.
just treating you like a piece of meat.
That's what I said to her.
I need it.
But so, needless to say, the sex life is still not.
It's so much harder because when you have a baby, when you didn't have a baby, you just got in the mood.
Let me just tell you something. That's a new skill you're going to develop, sir. Yeah. When moments like that happen, it's going to be like, okay, yes, there it is.
You just got to be.
It happens.
Yeah, remember what was it? Marvel.
Presto changeo.
Was it Avengers when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk?
Yeah.
And they're like, don't you need to get mad? And he turns around and he's like, that's my secret. I'm always mad.
Yeah.
You just got to be horny all the time.
Yeah, that's a.
You always wonder why I'm always horny? That's why. You're just ready.
Well,
That's why I don't give you hugs.
I feel like
That's why I give you hugs.
That's definitely what it was like when I was 17. I mean, when you're 17, I was actually, again, after this all happened, she left, I felt bad. And then this is my dumb brain, how I work. All of a sudden I started doing like these visualizations of pie charts in my head. Like, when you were 17, your pie chart of thoughts were divided like this. It was, 20% is dedicated to thinking about homework and school and education and growth, and all that goes in that 20% category. And then maybe 10 or 15% sports and other things, whatever your things you're into. And then the other 80% is like sex.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you think about, 24/7. So you
Mine was more like 1%, and then
right. And I was thinking about, okay, now what's my pie chart look like now? It's like, wow, you think about like growth and business and retirement and savings and the bills, and it's like, what had happened is like that pie chart that was 80% filled of nothing but thinking about sex has now been divided up by all these other things.
Totally.
And now you're trying to time it and align it
for both partners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you're trying to align it perfectly. And I mean, even the time before last that we had sex, which was a few days before this, she's, she brings the baby monitor down there, so he's got he's
set the mood.
Oh yeah. And then
babies are cock blocks.
I'm
like,
like,
gonna be honest.
we're mid session here, and he starts crying. It's like, fuck it, leave him alone. I gotta finish, and then we'll get to him. He can last.
He starts to grow as he grows up. Why are you always mad at me, Dad? Listen, you'll know one day why I'm fucking pissed off at you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's actually one of the books that I told you I got a couple adult child books that people sent, and one of them is I told you
Go the F to Sleep.
Yeah, Go the F to Sleep was the Samuel L. Jackson reading one. So the other book that I got, I believe this came from Shauna, was the Cock Blocker. Yeah. So and it's the same concept. It's like
so funny. Yeah. Speaking of the Everly Well test, Cassie took the food sensitivity one, which a lot of people don't know that they have that. They actually have a test that you can take that will test your IgG antibodies. So these are not the same antibodies that you have when you have a food allergy. It's not an IgE.
Right, because they're already assuming that you know those ahead of time.
Yeah, so it's not a food allergy. It's IgG is for food intolerances. Now, to be clear, it's not perfect in the sense that you can have no IgG antibodies and still have issues with the food, and vice versa. But what it does do is it's an inexpensive way to point you in the right direction, because one of the challenges of doing the elimination type diet, which is the gold standard, if you want to find out what foods bother you, elimination diet. The problem is, where do I start? I mean, you could be extreme and go all the way to like carnivore, but that's insane. A lot of people do the, cut out the most common food intolerances, but it's different from person to person. So, I mean, that's how I figured myself out. Years ago, I took, and this was way back when you couldn't get these tests through the mail like you can with Everly Well. Back then, I had to work with a practitioner, and I tested for IgG antibodies. And what it did is it just pointed me in the right direction. And then I further tested with eliminating them and seeing how I felt, and then did that whole thing. But even with your hormones, Adam, imagine trying to get this many hormone tests through a doctor.
No, it's expensive as hell to do it,
and a pain in the. They won't do it for you,
and it takes forever to get it done. And then they won't do it that
some justified reason.
Won't do it as frequent as I would like it to be done. So no, I love that. And even if it's, again, like, I know that's the knock on, especially with I know the hormone tests are really accurate, but I know that the
food sensitivity one tends to get criticism because it's not perfect, but there is no perfect way to just really figure out, besides elimination.
Well, the same people that criticize that, again, I guess it's just the old trainer in me that's been doing this for almost 20 years now, that I didn't have any of these tools. You know, to try and figure. You have a client that might be.
It was always elimination diet.
Yeah,
cut everything out.
Right.
Do that for a month.
You're guessing. So you know, if I can have something that costs $49 to $99 that they can test themselves to give us some sort of idea of what may be the offenders.
Of course.
I mean, man, to me, that's just like the same way I look at the Fitbit and tools like this. I don't care that it's not 100% accurate. It's more accurate than me guessing.
Totally.
Just totally guessing.
Totally.
It's so
Totally.
that to me is it's a huge tool when it comes to things like that.
Dude, I wanted to tell you guys. So this morning, I actually went to work out at Club Sport, and I haven't worked out there at 6 a.m. in a long time. I've been doing the afternoon kind of workouts or whatever. Don't have the kids this week. I woke up to work out in the garage, but I woke up early enough, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Club Sport. I love working out early in the morning. Here's why. Not because I love working out early in the morning.
The dedicated
That fucking
people.
sucks.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what it is? It's all the old salty dogs. It's a bunch of, you know what, dude? So I'm working out. It's all these old guys working out, and they all talk a bunch of shit. They all, hey, whoa, Sal, where you been? Talking shit. Then I go in the locker room. Of course, it's a bunch of 60-year-old, 70-year-old men. Nobody wears shit except for socks. So they're walking around naked. They're talking so much shit to each other. So I go in the sauna at the very end. I'm sitting in the sauna, and there's these 3 old dudes in there, and they were fucking ripping each other about how old they are and this and that. And one guy's like, he goes, I fucking woke up at 3 o'clock and it's 6 o'clock to take a piss. You know how much that fucking sucks? And I'm sitting there, I'm cracking up. And then the guy next to him, he's all, I'm 74 years old. I don't take a piss till 9 a.m. And they're like, whoa, that's really fucking good. And he goes, yeah, but I don't wake up till 10. Bro, I was almost on the floor. I was laughing so hard at these guys. Yeah. But they just talk so much complete shit to each other. It's so funny.
That's great.
So yeah, they're talking about.
Now, do they seem like they're all friends from the gym, or they're friends outside of the gym?
Friends from the gym. Some of them don't even know. They just come in. They recognize like, oh, he's another old guy. We're gonna fucking, we're gonna talk about whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
It just kills me. Anyway, it's a good time. I love working out at that time.
So great.
Yeah.
Hey, have you guys seen the new credit card by Apple?
No.
Oh, this is fast.
Like a legit credit card?
Have you seen this, Doug?
I haven't.
Okay, so this is really cool. Remember when we speculated a long time ago about, companies like, Apple starting to build their own like ecosystem and like they're going to be their own government. So I think this is just like one more step in this direction. So you guys know that your credit cards that you have right now, you have like a, excuse me, you have like a rewards program and shit in there.
Yeah. So like cash back or.
Yeah. Have you guys ever even?
Well, I have a Southwest one that's really good.
That's the one I'm using too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, right? The airplane ones are the best ones because everyone flies and that you probably use it.
Free tickets.
Other than that, does anyone use any of all those random companies?
Well, we did one before, and like cash, but it didn't give you the best payout.
So here's what's dope about Apple. And we should have known that they were laying the foundation for this when you started seeing all this. Did you guys remember when you started seeing like all the like, oh, we take Apple. Apple Pay.
Yeah, I use that all the time.
Right. So they've worked out all kinds of deals with lots of these companies. Now, for them, the value for them is they're going to gain all kinds of data on you, where you shop, where you buy, all these things. But this is what's so brilliant about this. So let's just take an example of like maybe my month. Okay. I use the Chevron gas station around my corner, probably, once a week, every single week. I go down to Safeway and I grocery shop around the corner, at least twice a week. I, go to Nordstrom's and I pick something out there, probably once or twice a month. So it tracks all those things, and where you're going to start to get rewards and money and cash back are all these places that you already shop.
Specifically those companies.
And it'll be like an automatic. You'll get an alert. Adam, here's $1.75 towards Chevron gas.
Yeah.
To push you to want to make sure you go fill your gas up again at that
So
point.
smart.
Or oh, Adam, here's 10% off your next Safeway purchase and automatically built.
So smart.
Is it not brilliant?
So smart.
So brilliant.
I
right?
love that.
So they're covering all like the physical places you go. Like Amazon's doing all your online, like tracking all of your like buying habits and all that. So that's cool. They're going that angle.
So I believe they do that too, though. I believe they do all your stuff online.
Wow. And it breaks everything down to show you how much you've saved, how much you're.
Yep.
Wow.
So brilliant.
I love that.
Right?
I mean, I love credit cards because, first of all, I never hold a balance.
Now, think how smart.
I'm the worst customer. I pay it off every month.
I know every month I pay it off.
Now, Apple does a really good job of really making these rewards awesome and user friendly, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, I'm winning all the way by using this." And then you end up using it 99% of the time. Now they have like incredible data on you and all of your shopping behaviors and all of your behaviors on where you go and what to do and like how to target you for advertising for these companies.
Nice.
Isn't that fucking brilliant?
Yeah.
It's smart,
Yeah,
dude.
'cause-
So smart.
Yeah, so now you're getting targeted ads for the shit that you already buy.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like, oh,
interested in-
yeah, Sal goes to, whatever store, 3 times a year, and it's been 3 months since he's been to that store. All of a sudden you get a 25% off, coupon for that place. It's like, oh shit, I need to go there anyways.
Yeah, brilliant.
So fucking smart.
Brilliant,
That's
brilliant.
really good. Dude, I was watching this trailer and I was on the flight back and I was watching YouTube and there was a movie trailer. So you guys know Logan Paul, obviously. He's like a huge, YouTube star, and he's been doing all kinds of crazy stuff lately, like pay-per-view. He just did like a major fight and is about to do another one, right? Boxing match against another YouTube star. Well, now he's getting into movies. And there's this movie, I think it's called Airplane Mode. They have like 25 of the most popular YouTubers in this movie acting.
Wow. This
And
is so.
it looks like a monstrosity, dude. Think about them. Just their personalities are carrying this movie. They're not trained actors or anything. This is just like, and I know it's going to crush.
It's going to crush.
Because it has a guaranteed audience.
Well, not only
Yeah.
that, but we have already seen the evolution of like reality TV. So people don't give a fuck that they can't act. You just want to see the people.
You have to watch this trailer. It is cringeworthy. Like this movie is going to be worse than I can't even think of like Airplane or something else like that. That's like actually funny because they're making fun of but this is like they're really trying to make it suspenseful and whatnot.
Those are the celebrities of today and definitely of celebrities of tomorrow.
Yeah.
My kids don't know any freaking Hollywood celebrities.
Isn't
They
that
could
weird?
give
Isn't
a
that
shit.
crazy?
It's just bizarre to me.
It is bizarre, but it's really how it's going to work.
That's it.
And imagine if you've got 5 people in the movie, okay, and they all have
2 million, 3 million
2
followers.
to 20 million followers.
It's a guarantee.
It's a built-in audience.
Totally.
It's
It's just so frustrating though, because like you could just. It's so obvious that they haven't taken any acting classes or anything, and so it's just like whatever. We're just here.
So the fun thing to speculate on is will this be just a flash in the pan?
Yeah, like a test.
Yeah, like people will do it for the time being, like it's because they're intrigued by it. But if Logan Paul kept doing fights on pay-per-view for the next 3 to 5 years, will probably the third or fourth one people be like it's lame watching this guy
Yeah,
fight.
once the novelty wears off, let's see what happens.
Right, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. It's
Yeah.
once it's no longer novel anymore, and every YouTube person is doing
Because
something.
acting is a real skill.
Yeah.
It's a real skill.
That's the thing. I would be like so offended if I was like a real actor.
Yeah,
but
but
it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, but what if the formula isn't to like quote unquote act? What if it is
Just to play off of it.
reality TV?
yeah.
I mean, that's what I
That
mean.
would have been better.
Yeah, it's interesting that. Are you sure it's not like that? Are you sure
No,
it's not?
it's scripted for sure.
Oh, it
Oh,
is.
Yeah,
no.
it's bad, dude.
Yeah.
You guys have to watch.
So this was on the flight back, but how was the flight? How was your whole trip out there? 'Cause
Oh,
you
it was a blur. Like I honestly,
I saw your
It's
timeline.
insane, dude.
I saw you did your timeline.
I tried to at least for that one day.
And where did you head out to again? It
I
was,
headed out to basically Washington D.C., which I didn't even know. Duels or
the capital was there?
Yeah, no, I didn't know it was in Virginia. Like it was on the border of Virginia.
Yeah.
So anyway, we flew in there and then did some cool content. With Ben Pollack and Kristen Graham and we shot it all at this gym. I think it's called The Spot, which was really nice of them for letting us come in and everything. But it was great. We actually, as we were shooting and everything, there was 3 guys that worked for Mike Matthews that were there. And
really?
and they recognized me right
Oh,
away.
because he's based out of there.
Yeah, I didn't even put that together. I was our boys out here.
You know who I saw that he actually did a post. I saw it was the one that I reshared.
Yes, that one. He took a picture of me like a sneaky ninja.
Yes,
Which I'm like, come on, guy.
Matt Kemp, I want to say.
Yeah, Matt Kemp.
Is that what his name is? He's been actually listening to the podcast for a really long time.
Yeah.
He's actually like one of the OGs, and and I remember he's an up and coming young kid.
Yeah.
Puts out pretty decent content. The only one knock that I know I razz him about that we're not eye to eye on is he's a big IIFYM guy.
Oh yeah.
But that's because he's fucking 20.
Yeah.
So we'll see when he's fucking 40 how he feels.
Well,
about
they
that
were
shit.
super nice. I mean, my this whole trip was pretty crazy. I mean, it was funny because it made me appreciate like Katrina even more because I totally forgot to like basically check in, and so we had like C group for both connecting flights to get to Virginia. I was so mad, dude. I was like, no, I didn't realize
She
that,
only,
like,
she only checks us in with Adam. When Adam
yeah, I was like, Adam, next time I'll bring Adam because then I'll have that taken
then you get
care
all
of.
the bells and whistles.
So, like,
Oh my God, bro. I was in the middle seat, just like in between two fat fucking dudes. And I'm like, oh, just.
So I gotta
brutal.
share some with you that on that note that Katrina said to me last night. That she's like, was it last night? Yeah, I think it was last night, the night before, about Sal. She goes, Sal messaged me for an itinerary for his LA trip. I'm like, oh, and she's like, I totally did it for him. She goes, but I kind of laughed because she's like, there was not much to the itinerary, right? Because we had one thing to go see. She's laughing and she's like, oh God, you and him are so much the same.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I know. Sal,
Where do I go? It's like a flight just right here.
Yeah, no, Sal literally flew from San Jose to LA, went straight to Chase Tuning's talk. He talked there, then flew back, and Sal texted Katrina, hey, could I get an itinerary for fucking...
Oh, dude,
you know,
I had a lot of moving parts, man. It was crazy. It was chaos.
Oh, you're way more organized than I am.
Well, whatever, but it was like...
That's
dude,
why we lean on him to do that.
I know. Well, that's why she's like, oh, he'll probably check himself in. But I was like, oh, no. Like, I got all dependent on her for doing it for me. But so, yeah, we were like flying in, and then we got it like, because you lose three hours, I believe. And so we got in real late. It was, we left at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock, and we get there at like 11. You know, and so I'm like hungry. I'm trying to find, thankfully, like the bar in the hotel was open, so we were able to eat. But then right away, we didn't get to bed till maybe 12:30 because we were just like, adrenaline and trying to wind down. And so we wanted to get going early, and like, this is gonna be a long day. We got a lot to shoot. We got all this stuff to accomplish. And, I have to make sure like the timing's all right, all that stuff. And so we get in there at like 7, because it's like 40 minutes to get to the actual gym. So I had to get up at 6, and then, we're trying to find coffee, because fuck, I can't do anything without coffee. That Cup Zero is a real thing. And so we get in Uber and like drive over there. And it was like, from then on, thankfully Ben was like right on time, and we just had to organize everything. So we had to call the owners because the music was still on. Everything was locked, like all this crazy stuff. It was like, it was chaos, but then it started to go in a direction where it was like, okay, we're making a lot of progress. We're making a lot of progress. All these things are happening. Then we were like done at like 2 o'clock, and I'm like, what am I gonna do now? Like my whole day was like devoted around this.
You finished at 2?
Yeah, dude.
You go to bed.
Yeah, well, I couldn't. I was so like my adrenaline was
9
going.
coffees later.
Yeah,
No,
it sucked, dude. And then,
What'd you do for the rest of the day?
So basically, we were just working on stuff on the computer, and then like I was trying to chill out and pass out, and then later went to dinner with Chris, and Ben was not with us, but we went to dinner that night, and then tried to go to bed early. Ended up going to bed at like 11 o'clock. Get up at 4 a.m. And then we had to catch an Uber by 4:15 to be able to get to our flight that left at 5:30 a.m.
Oh, damn.
And then, so thankfully, I remembered to check in Saturday. So I remembered that day. So I actually got like a B group in A. And so I was like, made my way back at least with that. But so we hopped on the plane. Boom, take off. I have 2 layovers. So I got to go to Denver. Boom, sit there. And then we have like a 30-minute layover. Then we go all the way. And I was like, oh, I didn't see the second. There was no second ticket. I thought that like maybe there's a mistake. No, there's no 2 layovers. Like I think she was like, didn't read that right. But no, we went to Burbank. And then we were sitting in Burbank, and we stayed on the plane. So I didn't see that part. So then we went to there, and then finally went home. So I get home. This doesn't stop here. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So then I go from there. I drive immediately to Half Moon Bay because my kids are at my nephew's birthday party at this beach. I show up there. I try and like, hey, show face. Like, hey, brother, and all this stuff. You know, give me a sandwich. Cram down this sandwich. You know, hey, happy birthday to you. Okay, let's go. Grab my oldest. Get in the truck. Okay, like put your stuff on. Put all your cleats on. All this stuff. Let's jam. Like I have to coach flag football, so I'm driving an hour and a half back over to get to this place. We get there. I'm like frazzled. Like we're maybe like 5 minutes from kickoff. And the other guy I'm working with had everybody all ready and everything. And he's like, "Okay, so the game plan is this, that, and the other." I'm like, I totally forgot the game plan, you know. And so I'm sitting on the sidelines, like trying to rally them. And then the first play, like I called like a defensive front that I knew, like I for some reason I just threw it out there. It wasn't the one that I was supposed to do, and then they scored on it. And I'm like, no. And so I'm just like, like punching myself. And then we came back and we rallied back, but then we still lost by like 1 touchdown. So anyway, I took that one for the team. I took that one to heart. But I was like, dude, I'm so like frazzled right now. I'm not thinking clearly, you know.
Did you go to bed early at least?
Brutal. So I tried and I was like trying to chill, but then I got home with the kids and then they wanted to show me all this cool stuff that they'd been doing while I was gone, and then Courtney actually got back. She was in San Diego, and so she just came back from her sister's birthday, and so she had to tell me all about what happened with that, and it was a surprise and all this stuff, and so I ended up staying up till like I think it was 10:30, and then I slowly tried to calm down. Thank God for like our biohacks with chili pad, with, all these different things, like the Felix Gray glasses. I'm just like putting all this shit, like I'm going to the Juve. I'm sitting in front of the Juve. I'm Ned's like going down like crazy, Then finally I calmed down, and it was probably like 11 o'clock. I finally went to sleep, and then I didn't know if I was going to wake up, and here I am. So
thank God you made it.
Yeah,
thank God.
It was crazy, but it was worth it.
Thank God. Hey. You guys want to hear about what I think is going to be the biggest fucking selling product ever?
What?
Coming up? Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Oh, no, this is a real deal. This is in Forbes magazine. The world's first GMO probiotic has been invented, and it was designed, you ready for this? To cure hangovers.
Wow.
And it works.
What? Yes.
It actually fucking works.
What?
So they did is they
That's
did
dangerous
it.
to know.
They created. It's been launched. So they launched it.
Do we have a company name by chance?
It's Z Biotics.
Write that down, Douglas.
Yeah, no, fuck man.
Write that shit down.
Shout out.
It's a FDA compliant, patent pending probiotic drink that's been genetically engineered to break down a toxic byproduct of alcohol called acetaldehyde. I think I'm pronouncing it right. That's why you feel like shit the day after you drink alcohol, is because that byproduct is what causes all the problems. You take this probiotic, the bacteria has been modified to destroy or to break down that byproduct. So then you don't have it. And so, as I read the article, the author is saying, oh, it fucking works. They tested it several times.
So I thought too it was like dehydration was another factor to that.
Sure, drink your water and all that stuff, but you still could feel like garbage the next day.
Yeah, definitely.
So apparently, and they have studies to back this up. How crazy is this?
That's crazy.
It's a GMO.
Where was that when I was in college?
Now I'm a little bit afraid of this kind of stuff, right? It's okay. You did GMO bacteria that we're consuming. I feel like that might go somewhere bad.
It's
I don't know.
Frankenstein bacteria.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie if you ask me.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone sent this to me and I did a little research. Tell me that's not crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna test it out.
This is launched. Is it going?
Yeah,
it's going.
That's
cures your hangover, but makes you into a zombie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but every time they play this sound, you do what they tell you.
See,
Manchurian candidate.
How much does it cost there, Doug?
$12 a bottle.
Wow. Well, hey, if it works, fuck.
I mean,
that's as much as a drink.
Remember that next time.
How much? It's not even a shot. It's a half an ounce, isn't it? Is that what it says? I can't see from here.
Yeah, half ounce.
Oh yeah, that's not even a shot. It's tiny.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
I
tiny.
can't wait to try this out.
Oh, that is going to be game changer.
Yeah. And speaking of science, I was doing more reading on. So I've been doing a lot of reading on the other lesser known cannabinoids. The well known ones being, of course, THC, which we know what that does, gets you high and all that stuff. CBD, which everybody's trying to sell now. But I've been trying to learn about the other cannabinoids. I told you guys about CBG a little while ago. I've been reading about a cannabinoid called CBC, cannabichromine. And CBC, when in studies, shows that it improves the body's ability to utilize its own natural cannabinoids. So if you take CBC, it makes your body work better with other cannabinoids. It's also been shown in animal studies to promote the growth of brain cells, believe it or not. So the old adage that, weed will kill, it shrinks your brain or whatever. There's cannabinoids that do the exact opposite. Oh, wow. Now, CBD, CBC, CBG, CBD, and other cannabinoids are all found if you get something that's full spectrum. Mm-hmm. So like Ned, who we work with, they make full spectrum hemp oil. And it's funny because the response that we get from people who do that versus who just use pure CBD, it's way different. I don't know about you. Have you?
So isn't that the same with a lot of these plants, like they find like dual properties to them. So one sort of like cancels out the other to balance it out. Like, so is that in hemp that they find CBG?
Well, so hemp has all the cannabinoids in it. The only one it has very low amounts or no amounts is THC. That's why it's legal. But when you use CBD by itself, you're not going to get if you test the anxiolytic, the anti-anxiety effects of pure CBD, and you compare that to like a full spectrum, where you have all the other cannabinoids, you just feel a lot better. Oh, and there you go. Look, they have is that the Ned website, Doug?
That's correct.
So the most prevalent cannabinoid that was tested, and they have third-party testing. This is why we work with them in the first place. Man. CBD is the highest, the highest amount, which is expected. CBD is one of the main cannabinoids. Then CBC is next. CBG is third, and then after that you have like the CBDV and stuff like that. But there you go, man. That's why people keep talking about how it works, especially when they compare.
Well, that's a really big deal because I was under the impression that the only thing that were neurogenesis occurred was during fasting. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that the CBD
in animals. So okay. I have this wasn't tested on humans, but in cats they gave them CBC, and it promoted neurogenesis.
So that I wonder if you were to fast and take that, if it would like put that into hyperdrive or not.
Well, so when I was doing my long fasts, my 72-hour fast, I was doing that. I was using I was messing around with cannabinoids because, and here's why I did it. I didn't do it for that reason. The reason why I did it is I know that fasting it promotes cell death for old cells. So old cells tend to kill themselves. That's what makes fasting so anti-cancer. Cannabinoids also have that effect. Cannabinoids, when you expose cancer cells to high doses of cannabinoids, they tend to want to commit suicide and kill themselves. That's why cannabinoids are anti-cancer. So I experimented and thought, hey, if I fast and supplement with cannabinoids, maybe I'll get kind of.
That'd be so cool to see some studies around that. Wouldn't that be cool?
I 100% think the fasting and cannabinoids will become adjuvant therapies to chemo. I really do. I think that you're going to see that in the future. Fasting's already being looked at by the FDA. Cannabinoids is being studied by pharmaceutical companies for anti-cancer purposes. But that's the big difference. What you're seeing right now in the market is CBD, pure CBD, or if it has any CBD at all, right? A lot of them are liars. But you're probably not going to reap the same effects without the entourage effect, the other cannabinoids, which Ned has all of them, so
awesome.
Totally different.
First question is from D. Prinvale. What's the best way to measure body fat percentage?
The same way.
Yeah, great answer.
Good, yeah, good.
Great answer.
Nailed it.
Yeah, there is no 100% accurate way of measuring body fat besides you die and then they take your fat off and then weigh it and then they can see where it's at. They're all inaccurate, but they vary in what in their accuracy, like calipers, and then it goes, bioelectric impedance is probably the worst. That's the one that you touch the handles and it measures your body fat. You could change that.
You can manipulate it like crazy.
Within 10 minutes, you could change it. Yeah. Calipers, that a lot of that is the error of the person giving it.
Right.
The consistency of how they're testing your body fat. And of course, there's genetic
hydrostatic weighing.
That's got to be the best one.
It's a better
think, right?
option. Between that and then also air compression with the bod pod.
Yeah, bod pods.
I've never done the bod pod.
I mean,
I've done it once.
They're all fairly accurate, right? But they all have a room for error and manipulation. And the idea is that whatever you do, you're consistent with that, and that's the main takeaway from this is like, okay,
That's the time of the day you do it,
Yeah.
right?
Make
what
everything-
you ate, what you drank, all that, right?
Yeah, control all the factors.
and the more you can control like that, the more accurate those things become. I mean, if you are really consistent with your food intake, your water intake, the time that you do it at, the consistency of who takes the test on you, I mean, all those factors are controlled. Then I mean, it'll be a really good example of where you were and where you are now, and the actual number of what it says is less important to the change over the time, right? So
Totally.
you know, anytime I had to have a client that would do a test, and we've done all of these actually. I've done calipers, I've done bioimpedance, I've done the bod pod, I've done the dunk tank, or the hydrostatic way, whatever. I've used all of them. That one is the one that I like to use the most. I won the person.
Really, you like that?
Yeah,
I hate
the hydrostatic way. Yeah,
where you got to go into water and breathe out every bit of air.
Yeah,
That's
some
fucking
people have a hard time with that. Yeah,
terrifying.
because it is like counterintuitive, right? It's
But
like,
the thing about that though is, and I've talked to the guy who runs those, right? Is even if you held your breath and you went under, the amount of air is way less. Like it would only make a difference. Like I think it was like the most it can make a difference is like up to 0.5%.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Right. So even if you held your breath and you went under and you didn't release your air like you're supposed to, it wouldn't skew the test by that much. So
now, have you found more value in them just like taking pictures of their body and like being able to kind of like look at that like on a weekly basis?
So I use kind of all the above, right? So again, this goes back to, you know, when we started doing a lot of these things, you know, tracking and helping people, we just didn't have a lot of these tools. The fact that we have tools now where I can have someone enter their food into an app. I can have, obviously we've had scale weight for a long time. I can have a scale weight. I can have a body fat test. And then I can also have a very clear, easy digital picture they take on a weekly basis. I like all of it. So, and as
It's all data.
as a coach, that's what I would ask for. And I really would not, I didn't give a lot of, there wasn't a lot of conversation with me and my client around these things. It really was, I want you to do all these things for me to collect the data. From there, I kind of make the decision on which way to go for my clients. And the visual one is my favorite for, because what happens to us, even if like all the data is showing the right direction, like, you know, oh, the body fat test shows I'm down, my scale says I'm down 1 or 2 pounds. But what do clients normally say to you? Like, I feel the same. I feel like I look the same, or
My
I don't.
clothes fit the same.
Yeah, because they look at themselves 4 times a day, every day, and so and we know how incremental change is like this with body fat percentage and building muscle. It's over the course of a month or 2 months' time. We're talking about a few pounds of swing of muscle and fat. It's not like a huge difference distributed throughout your entire body.
Yeah.
So it's very subtle changes. But when you have a nice visual that you can look at from 4 weeks ago today, and if you've been doing good diet-wise, training-wise, you should see a nice visual change in body composition if you've done a good job.
So when I first became a trainer, I did regular body fat tests and I did circumference measurements and I did all that stuff. Later on, I moved away from all of it. And here's why. Now, I could see the value in it for a couple different reasons. Like every once in a while you get a client who's like, oh my God, the scale only moved a pound. What's going on? And then you could show them, oh, actually you lost 4 pounds of body fat and you gained 3 pounds of muscle, and that's why the scale only moved a pound. So there's some value in that, but here's why I moved away from all that. It encourages this obsession, this body obsession with constantly checking, constantly looking at myself. And later on, I realized what I'm trying to do is create lifelong good behaviors and also create a good relationship with their body and with exercise. And so I moved away from all that. And what I found was I was more successful. I was more successful later on by not, because they would end up measuring and weighing themselves anyway. I just stopped doing all that, and we would just focus on
it also
performance and feel and all that stuff.
It also speaks to, I mean, this is where we're all very different, right? Like, you know, there's definitely, even though we have almost the same amount of years experience, the types of clients that we probably train more of, like you definitely trained probably more advanced age people and people that just wanted general health and feel better. Like I trained probably more of the high performing, 30 to 50 year old like CEO and they want to know and engineers.
numbers.
Yeah, and so I liked this stuff. I liked a lot of this stuff for those reasons.
If
But
people asked me, I wouldn't turn them down. If they said, "Hey, can I test my body fat?" I would do it every single
But
day.
I definitely spent a lot of time in the very beginning establishing as many of these metrics as I possibly could, and then I'd revisit it based on request, like something like that would come up. So it was kind of a both. In between both your guys' sort of methods, to where I would make sure like I had a lot of the data that I could refer to, and then kind of see the progress over, like maybe it was a month, maybe it was 3 months, but I would revisit it.
I just remember how much this changed me when I was getting into competing. Like when I started to compete and I had to track, like up until that point, I never, not to this level. Like I kind of tracked when back in the days when I used to write things down and, but I was never as diligent and as consistent as I was when I was getting ready to compete. Even the year leading up to competing, I was already tracking very diligently. Like, so, I had about 5 years of like just neurotic tracking, and it taught me a lot, and it really opened my eyes to a few things. And one of the biggest things I think it opened my eyes to that relates to the common person was what a difference carbohydrate and water intake and sodium intake could really manipulate the way somebody's body looks from hour to hour to day almost. And what it did to me was, and I remember tracking, knowing that my macros were right on line, my water was good, my training was all good, but then all of a sudden I would take a picture in the evening time on the next day in the middle of the week or something, and I'd be like, whoa, I look worse than what I looked just a week or two ago. And what came to mind now, I was okay was I knew I was tracking so I knew I was okay, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I drink a half gallon more water today, and I increase. This is a higher carb day, so I had an extra 100 grams of carbohydrates.
Right.
The difference of 100 grams of carbs and a half a gallon of water makes a huge difference in water retention in your body, and could change the visual effect and even the scale by a significant amount. But that doesn't mean you're doing bad on your program. It means you could still be doing perfect, but it could throw you off on the mental side.
Yeah.
And so if I felt that as a coach, a trainer, a knowledgeable, experienced person who knew what was going on, and I felt that, oh, whoa, what did I do? Oh, and I had to go back and look, oh, I'm fine. That made me go, wow, how many clients do you tell them, eat this way, train this way, do this? And they're going through, I trust Adam or Sal and Justin. I trust what they're saying. But in the back of their mind, they're still questioning, because they're like, I definitely don't feel like I'm making progress, or I don't feel good today. And then I'm not going to tell him, but I'm going to skip that last meal tomorrow, or I'm going to get on some cardio. I mean, I know I had clients that did shit like this. I know I had clients that, even though I was telling them what to do, still didn't listen to me and went and did more. Like, oh, I'm going to do a little more.
Because the scale changed apparently.
Right, because the scale changed. So
no, as a tool to in that sense, to explain things and break things down, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The problem I have with the trainer who does the regular testing, which I did for the first few years of training, it was like every other week, oh, today we're going to do measurements. We're going to compare it to last time I did them. The reason why I stopped that, I mean, think about it. Here you are, you're the average person. You never have worked out really consistently. You're trying to make this a part of your life. And every 2 weeks, you got to test.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks, I'm showing up to get tested.
Like school.
Yeah, okay. Fuck, here we go. Here's what it really does encourage a bad relationship with exercise. It creates a bad relationship with the gym. And it encourages body obsession with every little change of my body, obsession with what's going on. It's like I would tell clients not to weigh themselves. Oftentimes I would tell a client, do me a favor, take your scale, put it in the closet, don't use it anymore. And they would do better. Do you know how many times I would have a client where I would tell them to stop focusing so heavily on everything, stop micromanaging everything, and then they would end up getting more fit and leaner because they removed the stress and anxiety from all that. So towards most of the back half of my career, we didn't do measurements. Unless they asked me, or if I had to illustrate a point like what you're saying, Adam, where someone's like, what's going on with my weight? Why is my weight changing? Then I would do stuff like that, and it's okay, here's what's going on. It's obviously water weight. I tested your body fat. Your body fat didn't go up. You can hold more water. And then once I'd make that point, no more focus on that stuff. Now,
Yeah,
if you're training a competitor, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I would say that I always eventually move away from it, right? I mean, the goal is always intuitive training, intuitive eating, right? Is the ultimate goal for any you want to get any client to, where they're not dependent on you, they're not dependent on all these tests and things to feedback. But for teaching purposes, 100% everybody still to this day, if I were to coach and help somebody, the very first thing I make them do is to track all these things very diligently. Now, body fat percentage, I don't like to take body fat percentage more often than about every 6 weeks. Just because they say 0.5% to 1% a week is about the high end.
It's user error. I mean, God, how you can error that with the test,
right?
Yeah.
So exactly. So if you could easily error that, I don't want to be tracking that diligently on body fat percentage, because it could really easily be skewed the wrong way and then throw them for a loop the other direction. Where 6 weeks to 8 weeks, that's enough time of consistency that I should be able to show them a good, solid improvement.
And I always trip over the body. Like you think a particular body fat percentage is supposed to look a particular way.
It looks different on
but
everybody.
boy, is it different. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I tend to look leaner than I am. Oftentimes I would get a test and be like, wow, I thought I was 7%, but I'm actually around 8%. When you look at my shoulders, arms, and legs, when you look at my midsection, I look higher than my body fat percentage typically would say. For me to have a six-pack in the past, I'd have to be single-digit body fat. I knew guys that would hit six-pack at 11% body fat. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
I'd have to go 9-8%. So it is very different from person to person, and getting too focused on that, that just causes problems. I would say take it with a grain of salt, use it as a tool, but don't focus too heavily on it.
Next question is from Will Schreiner. My 9-year-old girl wants to start working out with me in the gym. Do you recommend bands or free weights?
Body weight.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to start.
Definitely.
Is to get them to learn how to manipulate their own body. Standing squats, elevated type push-ups, practicing handstands where you hold her legs up so she can kind of try to support herself.
Like a MAPS Anywhere protocol.
Yeah, because that proprioceptive ability will benefit them tremendously. Now, if I had to pick between bands and weights, I don't know. I guess I would probably pick weights, but go super, super light. Now, here's the truth. There is no wrong answer here, so long as their form and stability and technique is perfect. Right. There is no fear of injuring your kid is if you have them go beyond their capability.
Well,
and their
it's
capability
the proper dose of intensity.
Yes, and the capability is pretty low. Like you'll take a little kid who, has the strength to, let's say, press a 10-pound weight above their head, but they don't have the balance to do it. And you'll notice this. You'll take a 10-year-old, have them hold a 1-pound dumbbell that's light, and their hand will...
That's the biggest struggle you're going to have trying to coach them through these movements is just that they don't... Their body is just not as aware that, what to sort of like anchor down and what to, what to press and how to actually like hold their body and sustain, their body in that plane and that position. So to be able to get them to access way to brace their body and like control the movement. Controlling the movement is everything at the early stage.
I mean, you could follow something that's that we've written and created, like a MAPS Anywhere, but you could even simplify it more than that if you didn't want to invest in a full program for them to follow. Like I would literally I would be squatting, pulling up, lunging, body weight row,
planking, holding yourself up.
I would pick like 5 body weight type movements.
Squats,
that's very basic, and just perfect those. Get good at them, get controlled with them, watch form, because they're going to have a hard time with that single leg toe touch. I know that's in Anywhere, and I think that's a great.
So here's something I used to do with kids with that. I'm glad you brought that exercise up. So here's the thing with kids is you got to make it kind of a game. Mm-hmm. So because I've trained kids as young as 9 years old, and so what I would do is I would take a bunch of, marbles or pencils, and I'd put them on the floor, and I'd say, you have to bend over and pick these up, but you have to do it while standing on one foot. So then they would automatically kind of do this single leg toe touch, trying to pick up as many pencils as they can with one hand. And then if they touch the floor, okay, you touch the floor, you got 5 pencils, good job. Now let's see if you can beat that, get 6 this time. Yeah. So kind of create, those types of games, give them a medicine ball, tell them, push this off your chest, see how far you could throw it. Throw this to dad or whatever, throw this to mom, and kind of have those games. And the workouts tend to be short. You're looking at 20-minute type workouts, unless you get the rare. Now, when I used to own my little wellness studio, I was next door to this coffee shop, this breakfast joint, and the owner there had this young boy who he was a small kid for his age, And he used to ride his skateboard, and then he'd stop and watch through the window, and he would just look with awe. And he would always stop right around the times that I would be working out. This would be around summertime when he was out of school. And he'd watch me work out. And I could recognize the look in his face. Like, it was me. That was me when I was a kid. Like, I looked up to strong.
Just enamored with you.
Yeah, strong, muscular, like, oh my God, I want to get strong. And so then, I'd go out there and be like, hey, what's up, buddy? And he'd be like, do you want to be big and strong? He's like, yeah, I want to lift weight. Now a kid like that, let him go. Have a great time. That kid easily spent an hour and a half in my studio working out.
Right. That's it's like my youngest. It really is like it's they watch you, they start mimicking, and that's where I was like, I mean, I even taught my youngest, he's only 6 years old, how to and he has pretty proper mechanics for a kettlebell swing already. So I mean, there's little things that you just notice if they start to pick up on it. I can coach, just a little bit to sharpen it up for them, and then he just goes in there and works at it.
Yeah. I would personally, I would take I would have, if you don't already own the Maps Anywhere program, I would take that, and then I would pick a handful of exercises from there and teach that to your daughter. Is it daughter? Your daughter, and see what if she just falls in love with it and is good at it right away and is looking for more so my goal as dad is I would like to get her to the point where she could actually do this whole program, but I'm going to start off with just a few of these movements and see if that keeps her attention and she works towards getting better.
Build on it from there.
Yeah, and just build on it. Add a new exercise every. Maybe you only give her 3 to 5 exercises to work on and do while you're working out, and then as she gets better, I'd add another exercise and add another exercise, and you might find someone like the kid Sal saying she may be thirsty for more right away.
Oh, that's rare though. Most kids though, we get bored after about 20. Here's the big key. This is what I've told parents this time and time again. The big key is to create positive, fun associations with exercise, because if it becomes a do this, do that, and the kid dreads it, you're creating a relationship where they'll probably not want to work out when they're on their own. When they're older, they're gonna rebel and they're like, "Fuck, I don't like the gym. My dad used to force me to do it. I hate." I used to. How many clients I've had who
it's
were
like food, dude. It's the same thing with food.
Yep. I've had a lot of clients who were competitive, like swimmers, and then they never wanted to fucking swim again as soon as they were done with school, because their parents forced them all the time.
Yeah, they're just overbearing.
Yeah. So here's what I do with my son. Right, with my son now, he doesn't have the same thirst for lifting weights like I did, and it probably because he's not insecure like I was. I was super insecure about my body, and that was what drove me. He's pretty secure with himself, so and we enjoy it. But what I do with the workouts with him is he gets to cuss. We get to tell dirty jokes. It's it's time with him and dad where he could talk
man time,
however he wants. You know what I mean? And so we have a lot of fun. So I know later on when he's older, he'll remember and be like, oh, that was a good time with my dad. It creates that good. With my sister, with my daughter, we'll play music, we'll dance, we'll have fun. I'll color with her, throw darts, and then in between we exercise. And my goal is to try to make them enjoy, look forward to the time, or at the very least not have a bad experience, because I've seen a lot of parents with their kids where it's fucking boot camp, and I'm looking at the kids, I'm like,
you're fat.
Yeah,
no, do something about
unfortunately this. A lot of parents that get their kids involved in fitness is because of that, because they've allowed them to overeat for so long. The kids put on
living vicariously.
Yeah, then the kids put on a bunch of body fat. Then the parents go, "Oh shit, I see I've done this, so now I need to make my kid exercise." Right. Worst thing ever that way.
No, it's not good. And what'll end up happening is when your kid is old enough to make their own decisions, that's how they're going to rebel. They're going to go exact opposite of that.
Next question is from Adam Pullman Fit. As you guys have met more and more trainers and coaches in the fitness industry, what do you feel is keeping them from seeing their clientele and business flourish?
Oh, this is great, because we just had our team meetings this morning, and we meet with all of our staff one at a time. And one of the things we were discussing with Eli and Danny is this actually exact topic. And we talked about this with Mind Pump when we first came in the space, and it was really apparent to us that the people that were the most popular on YouTube and Instagram, that were good trainers, that putting out really intelligent, smart information, was, I don't think they realize that they're speaking more to their peers and a very small percentage of the population. It would be other trainers, coaches, PTs, and then the high end, or high percentage of people that are very advanced, been lifting for a really long time, understands somewhat of anatomy, looking for the competitive edge inside the gym. When you look at the entire population, that really probably only makes up about 5%, maybe 10% of the entire population. And so one of the things that and this goes for a lot of these great trainers that we've met, that we've highlighted on our YouTube, that we've had on the podcast, and that we've met personally. It's like this vicious cycle that's happening. And the new ones up and coming, they look up to these kids. They look up to the Jeff Nippards that are putting out really good stuff, and a lot of these trainers that have created really good YouTube channels that I think are great. But problem is, I don't think they realize who they're attracting, and that it's a very small pool that they are fishing in. And where if they wanted to continue to grow, they would learn to speak more to the average person, or the person that actually doesn't even want to go to the gym because of that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. What they don't, and I guess this is something that we put together as trainers a long time ago, was, I had to motivate people that didn't want to go to the gym, didn't like working out. And the more and more I was, or longer and longer that I was a personal trainer, the more and more I realized that this was the majority. Most people didn't love working out like I did, or love learning about anatomy, love learning about nutrition. Most people hated all that stuff, but they recognized that it's important. That's important for their health. It's important if they want to keep a good physique. It's important to be strong. It's important for longevity. So they're there. They're there because but they don't want any of this other deep shit. And these trainers, they tend to do that. They tend to speak at this level that attracts other trainers and other high-level people that are already motivated to go to the gym. And I think that's where we're missing in the fitness space, is learning to speak to everybody, and more importantly, speak to the other 95%.
They don't speak above everybody. And I think we noticed this right away, too, with how much the fitness industry was losing in terms of people out there on Instagram that were just doing like a hype reel, and we're taking their shirt out and then putting a supplement stack out there, and then putting out do these most simple basic things ever. And they were getting massive traction. And they were just, everybody was paying attention to what they're doing, and we're just like, this is crazy. This is not even good information. But yet they're getting a lot more eyes, a lot more people buying their products and all these things. So what was the lesson there was that we really have to simplify and reduce the amount of specific information we present in front of people, so that way we don't overwhelm them or not relate to them in terms of them just I just want to get in shape. Can I just focus on that?
Yeah, trainers and coaches focus too much on what they say, and they don't focus enough on how they say it.
Right.
The most important skill, hands down, that you have as a coach and a trainer, far more important than any other skill you can think of, more important than your knowledge, more important than your education, more important than how motivating you are, is your ability to communicate. And there's another word for that. It's called sales skills. Now, people listening may be thinking, well, what do you mean by sales skills? I'm not trying to sell tons of... You're always trying to sell fitness. Every time you talk to your client, look, if I'm talking to somebody...
ABCF.
And I'm trying to get them to change their eating behaviors, which these are ingrained behaviors. You know how hard it is to change somebody's eating behaviors. I have to sell it to them, but I have to do it in an effective way. And if I talk above them, or if I talk about too much stuff all at once, I might sound smart, but I'm not going to do a damn good job. I'm not going to do a good job at all. They're not going to change their behavior. So how you communicate by far is the most important skill. And here's the problem. Most of these trainers and coaches focus on learning more stuff, getting more certifications, getting more knowledgeable, who's the smarter guy or girl, and very few of them focus on how I communicate, and am I actually really communicating this in a way that is supremely effective, so that it's actually getting people to change. This is the story of Mind Pump. Okay, we started Mind Pump with zero media experience. Not a single person on this podcast had any experience with any kind of acting or media or podcasting or anything. But what we did have was...
I did a high school play, though.
Yeah, that doesn't... But what we did have, though, was decades of working with everyday people. And here's what happens when you train people for 2 decades. If you actually really care about people, if you really care about getting them better, is you start to figure that out. The first half of your career, You're just fucking, here's your macro breakdown, here's your meal plan, here's your workouts, follow it. Oh, cool, you lost 20 pounds. That's awesome. Oh, shit, you gained it back 3 months later. Or you stop working out with me. I see you again. Now you're back to where you were square one. You start to learn after about 10 years that, okay, it's not working. What I'm doing is not working. Sure, if they follow exactly what I say, they'll get in shape, but no one's doing that. So am I really helping anybody? So in the back half of your career, you realize, okay, how I'm communicating this is all wrong. I got to figure out a way to communicate what I know in a way that is effective so that people make forever changes. That's the truth. That's the key now. Do you want your clients to change temporarily? Because that's easy. Or do you want to get them to change forever? And if you're a good trainer, it's forever. Focus on your communication skills. I'll tell you something right now. If you have a certified trainer who's experienced and they're sitting there and they're weighing out whether they should invest money in a new certification or invest money in a course on sales skills, you know which one's going to give you way more payback in terms of client success and success of your business? Sales skills. Hands down, every single time.
Well, one of the things that is, and this is the conversation. So Danny and I just had this conversation recently because he's incredibly, I mean, I think Danny has more certifications than almost any trainer I've ever met in my life. At what, 23?
Yeah, I think you're right.
No, he does. He has so many of them.
He has all of them.
Yeah, he literally has every now. So the guy is just, for a 23-year-old, one of the smartest kids that I've met, especially pertaining to book smarts. Like, he has read every certification and gone to all these courses. Now, the problem is, and the challenge that, you know, anyone, including himself, has that I understand. Because I felt it even in my late 30s. I felt the insecure feeling that I had when I was on the YouTube channel when we first started. And that is, it's inevitable you're going to get these fucking trolls that come on there and they say shit to you. And it makes me want to, and what that causes me to do, like if you come in there and you talk shit, it makes me want to be like, oh, I need to show them how smart I am. Like, I need to let them, like, I'm not just some dumb trainer. Like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. And so I start to elevate how I'm speaking, or I get deeper and more technical to defend myself with whoever it is that's insulting me. And the thing that I try to explain to Danny is like, the 100 comments that come on there that are trolls that are coming in there to, you know, correct your terminology that you used, those are not the same people that are sharing it with 10 of their friends because it was the most amazing cues that helped them inside the gym. So you need to pay no attention to them. And I use the example of some of our most viral videos. You know, we've created some videos like the butt one, the bicep curl one I did, the chest fly one I did. And if you look on there, I have just as many negative comments. There's 100 people on there making fun of my calves, talking shit to me that I don't understand anatomy and where the bicep inserts, like all this fucking bullshit on there. And I think if I hadn't been doing this now for a while, I could see how somebody like Danny, when gets stuff like that, could affect you and then makes you want to come back over the top with like this really deep and technical, you know, YouTube or podcast or whatever. Problem is, that's not really helping all these people. And what it is the most basic, simple cue is, and then when I think back of being a trainer, like when I think about every exercise, you know, that I've taught, no matter how simple the exercise is, I can tell you that there's a common mistake made, you know, and at least one, if not two or three common mistakes that hundreds of people that have been in front of me make. And if I could just help one person or with one cue related to that exercise that the person watching me on YouTube can now take back to the gym that day when they go in there.
That's easy to understand, makes perfect sense, and most people are going to experience an issue with.
Exactly.
That's it.
That is the YouTube that's the video that gets shared 1,000 times. And it's like when we look at our videos that are growing our YouTube channel, it's those videos. You can look at the ones that are the most viral, and it's never the most technical, in-depth video that we made. It's the most basic video that we made with a really practical, solid tip. I mean, the bicep curl, what I'm talking about, I talk about standing on a split stance and retracting your shoulders. It's like the stupidest.
Yeah, and you don't say that. You say pull your shoulders back.
Yeah, I say pull chest up, pull your shoulders back, and stand on one leg. Why? Because I know that I've taught that 1,000 fucking times, and everybody has the habit of rocking their shoulders or cheating it. And when you balance on one leg, you can't cheat it because you'll fall over. When you pull your shoulders back, it keeps you from rocking in the elbows and then getting the shoulders engaged in the exercise. That's it.
Yeah, simple.
Very simple.
Very simple. No, I'd say focus on how you say things. Are you really being effective in the long term? And here's the second thing. Stop focusing so much on motivation.
Thank you for saying that.
That is a losing battle, because here's the thing. If you want to develop a lifelong, consistent relationship with exercise, you cannot rely on motivation, because motivation does not last forever. There's not a single person on this planet that is always motivated all the time. It just doesn't work. It's a feeling like any other. It's like happiness or sadness or hunger or sleepiness. It comes and it goes. But if we're constantly training towards motivation, what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of people who start working out, and then when the motivation fades, they stop working out. And you really haven't helped anybody. So the key is to work away from that. How do I get people to become consistent without motivation? Well, I'll tell you. Start with a small, realistic yet challenging goal, but it's got to be realistic for the person. That may mean they just start working out once a week. That's all it may mean. Or it may mean they just read a page out of a fitness book. I actually had a client who had to start that way. Have them start doing that consistently, and then it becomes a behavior, and then naturally they'll start to add upon that. But the whole motivation thing this is why there's so many fitness fads. This is why there's spin classes are popular. Oh no, it's boot camp classes. Oh no, it's Orange Theory. Oh no, it's curves, because they're all about motivation, and motivation fades, and as that fades, then the fad goes away, and then the next one comes. Meanwhile, nobody's in shape forever. Nobody's really making any real impact.
Now once the motivation fades, now it lies on the science, and a lot of that shit's not supported by a lot of really good science.
Right. So there you go. Learn how to communicate better. That'll make you the most effective coach and trainer that you can be. And stop with the raw motivation shit. That stuff sounds fun and it's cool. Doesn't get anybody in shape forever.
Next question is from Arthur Loco 1017. What was the scariest experience you guys had when working in a gym? How did you handle it? And did it change you in any way?
Scary.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the day I thought I was going to get fired. This was when I was 24-ish, 24, 25. I was managing Hillsdale. I think I've shared this story on the podcast before, maybe.
Yeah, is this where you had the party? And
Yeah. So it was really common that I would invite my staff over on a big fight. So this goes back dating myself, right? Mike Tyson was fighting, and then UFC was really starting to come on with their fights, and we would rent them on pay-per-view, and I would barbecue for the staff, and we'd watch the fight together, and it was just like a team building thing. And honestly, truth be told, I don't think I shared this part of the podcast. A lot of the motivation behind it was, I remember one year I was talking to my CPA, and I was talking about ways I could write things off. And
write off the fights?
Yeah. I used to write off the fights and write off all the food and everything. So
look at all these leftovers. Oh, guys, see you guys.
All these people work with me.
I was like, fuck, I'm gonna rent it anyways. May as well invite some staff over, call it a team building. So he was actually the one that put me onto that. So that's actually kind of why it was I was consistent with it. So this wasn't like just once or twice. I used to do it all the time. Anyways, I had a new front desk girl that was there, and I also had a new trainer who was there. And after the party kind of had died off, and there was like a handful, probably 5 or 6 trainers still hanging around my place, and outside of my property or outside of my house, supposedly this new trainer I had tried to force himself on a front desk girl. And that was reported the next morning. Now, I didn't know anything about it the night of. I didn't know anything until after the fact. And the way I found out was HR had called me into the office. They actually had brought the head of HR down to the gym.
I hate that woman.
Oh, yeah. And they had both of them in there, and they sat me down.
Told me off air.
And they were going to fire me over this incident because I was the boss, and I was hosting it at my house. There was alcohol involved. The shitty part was the way the picture was painted and the way it really was nowhere near. This wasn't a party. It was, 20 people at best of our staff members. It was a barbecue. I had less than 12. There wasn't even enough beer for each person to have one. That's like how little of alcohol was involved in this situation. But of course, if you weren't there and this situation happens, it sounds like Adam, the irresponsible manager, throws parties at his house, gets underage people drunk, and then one of his staff members forces himself on another staff member, and I'm held liable to all this. So this really fucked with me. I remember being super emotional. I left the gym crying, and like, just, I thought my whole career, at this point in my life, I'm at the peak, right? I bought my house at 22. So here I'm at 24, 25. I'm making 6 figures plus. Like, the economy's decent still right now. Everything's going good for me. And in fact, in the gym I was at, we were crushing goals. Everything was like, I was in a very good place. And then this happens. And I thought it was all going to go away. Like, I thought I was going to lose this career that I was in love with, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was lucky. I was lucky that there was people, vice presidents and presidents that knew who I was, and I was a top performer. And so I got a very stern warning and written up in a final documentation if anything like this ever happened again, that I'd be terminated automatically.
Black mark next to your name, though.
Yeah, for sure. And for sure, it was blackballed forever after that, because I never got promoted even years later to come. And they always lean back on that. Oh, we don't know. We're not sure if you're in a place. Yeah, we can trust you in a regional position where you have even more responsibility. And so I had that hanging over me for a really long time. But it did shift the way I was with employees, because at that time I was so young when I got into leadership that I still kind of led with this speed of the leader, and because this is before I've talked about the story of that really made the pivot and change, and started reading a ton of books, and I started leading differently. At this point in my career, I'm more like speed of the leader guy and rally the troops. I was like, watch me crush, motivate all the staff members. I'm the cool boss to work with because I'm young, I'm fun, I'm cool to be around. And that was kind of like my philosophy, and that's how I had a lot of success. And that really shook all that up. It was like, holy shit, like, I can't get that close to my staff. And I forever changed. I was never the same way. I didn't go hang out with my staff outside, if I ever did. If it was like with because Justin's probably thinking right now, what are you talking about? You and I hung out outside of work. It would be someone who I trusted, for a long time. They were with me, and we'd built a relationship that I felt comfortable that we could go on a snowboarding trip together, or we could do something. But man, I really never partied with trainers ever again after that, because it forever changed how I was with my team.
Oh shit! Well, I got a different scary story. Okay. I've been in similar positions to that, Adam, but for me, I remember this was my second stint at 24 Hour Fitness. So the first time I worked there, left in a blaze of glory, owned a gym. That's a whole different story for a different podcast. But I came back, and they gave me the club, pick whatever club you want. I picked a club that was in San Jose. They had re-grand opened it. So I went in there to do the re-grand opening. It was next to the house that I had just moved into. And so I go in there, and the assistant manager, the AGM. So when you're a general manager of a club, your right-hand man or girl is your assistant, your AGM. That's your top salesperson, top person. That's the person you lean on the most. So I walk in there. I'm not going to say his name, but the AGM person that I had he seemed cool or whatever. He'd been with the company for a long time. So I'm like, all right, this is all good. This is like 3 days into me running this new club. I'm coming in. I'm trying to be all good, because the first time I had left 24 Hour, like I said, I left in a blaze of glory. I told everybody to fuck off and all that stuff. So I'm coming back. I'm like, I want to be good. I don't want no fucking crazy shit happening. So this guy, 3 days into me going in there, this dude walks in, and he's acting weird. And he's a big dude. He's like 240, 250 pound guy. He's acting kind of weird. So I'm like, what's going on? So I look at him, and I'm trying to have conversation with him, and his eyes are looking kind of glossy.
Oh, I know who this is.
And he's like making weird jokes and kind of moving weird, and then he'd pop up out of the desk and like walk around the gym. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Is he on coke? Or
so I'm following him around. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like thinking like, something's not right, dude. Like, something is not cool. Well, next thing I know, the dude takes his shirt off. So now he's shirtless. He's walking through the gym, and he's acting crazy. Then he goes in the locker room, and he's naked, and he's dancing, fucking talking to people.
A good time.
I'm trying to talk to him, and I'm like, yo, man, you need to put your clothes on. We got to figure out what's going on. And it didn't seem like it was good. Yeah. A member called the cops because this guy was obviously on drugs. He was on something. Cops show up, pick this guy. And that's like 3 days in, man. I'm like, really?
What do you think he was on?
He was on a combination of substances. I think it was like opiates and GHB. He was doing something. But and he's a big
music.
And he's a big fucking dude. Big dude, and he, cops show up, and there's like 4 cops back there, like pulling him out of the club.
Super loud personality too.
You know exactly who this is because this echoed throughout the whole company. And I was like, fuck, dude, 3 days in and I got this going on? Oh, my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the second scariest thing that happened was dude was working out, didn't put collars on the bar, was doing an incline press, couldn't rack it, weight slides off one side, the bar flies out of his hand, and it flings and it literally snaps another dude's forearm in half.
Oh shit.
No.
Like hit his forearm and his arm bent down, so it was like folded and bone was sticking out. And you know in the movies when they show blood?
Yeah.
That's what was happening. With his heartbeat, you could see the blood go
straight compound fracture and just
you see the blood spurt, and I'm like, God. I don't know what to do, dude. So we're like, grab towels. We're like, get the fucking ambulance over here.
God.
Oh shit! I've never heard you tell that story.
Yeah, because if you ever see, that was my first time I've ever seen like
traumatic, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I've seen that happen once when I was at a basketball game, and that totally changed me afterwards.
Oh
dude.
Yeah, did you start to kind of be a little bit afraid of like hurting yourself?
Yeah, I was like, ooh, that can happen. Like, oh no. Yeah, for me it was actually when I was training this girl in. I've always like prided myself in terms of like being safe and paying attention to signs and cues and knowing like what type of intensity was appropriate. Obviously, I pushed the boundaries when I was first starting because I thought everybody was on the same level as me, going through athletic training and whatnot. And I was, obviously I was way off in the very beginning, but this was more towards the beginning, but I wasn't like super crazy. But I noticed that my client that came in, she was a younger girl. She was probably like 16 or something. And we started training, and I just noticed that her energy levels were a little low, and like she just was kind of staring off in the distance. And so I went through this like back in the time I was doing this sort of like really light circuit with her and was doing dumb shit. But you
look like you have low energy. We should do
we should probably do a circuit. So first move was dumb, right? I should have just had her just just stretch the entire time, right, and just do nothing. But so I noticed that like she was getting a little off balance and whatnot. And I was like, we should probably stop. Let's go get you some water. I'll walk you back. And I started walking. I walked and she didn't follow me. And I just kept walking. And I look back and I just see her, like her eyes kind of roll back. And then she fell into the wall and then fell all the way on the ground and like basically like passed out. And I was like, like I ran over there and I'm like, call 911. I had the front desk call 911, and then the paramedics show up and all this stuff, and she's like, and she comes to and she's like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like later I find out, she tells me like she was on like diet pills. It was a really hot day. She was dehydrated. Like every like wrong thing possible was like a factor in this. But I didn't pick up on it early enough, and so it totally like showed me like, wow, I have to pay super attention to like the dilated pupils, like all these types of things that were like dead giveaways.
Get on the intercom, attention members and guests. You want a hardcore workout? Come train with
see
Justin
what I
Andrews.
did? Yeah,
he'll make you die.
I'll get you in shape if it kills you.
One more story. I just remembered this one. There was this dude that this is when I was at Sunnyvale, and we used to when you walk in the front desk, there was glass, like kind of a wall, and you could see into the pool area. And there was this big motherfucker, big old beard, older guy, looked like your stereotypical biker, right? Tatted up, kind of like looked like he was in his mid 40s or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was on something, and he was talking shit to everybody. And then he goes in the sauna, and people are coming out. And they're like, "There's a guy in there that's threatening to fight people." I'm like, "Oh fuck!"
In the sauna?
Yeah, dude. I'm like, I got to go deal with this shit. Oh my God. So I walked in there, and I'm to this day, man, I'm so proud of how I handled this. So I go in there and I open the thing. I'm like, "Sir, can you please come out so I can talk to you?" And he's like, "Fuck you!" And I'm like, "Oh God, dude, I'm gonna have to fight.
There we go.
I don't want to fight someone. This is stupid." So I'm like, "Listen, I need you to come out." He's like, "You come in here, see if you can whatever." And he's talking shit to me. So I said, "Okay," and I stroke of genius. I said, "Why don't you step outside and then we'll see who the real tough guy is." He's like, "Okay." Yeah. So we walk out the pool. I said, "Follow me." So we walk out to the pool area. I walk up to the front door that goes outside. I open the door and I go, "After you." He goes outside. I close the door and I lock it.
I call cops right
Yeah,
away.
and I run away. He's standing outside in his bathing suit looking at, and I wave at him. And I said, the cops are on their way.
He's like,
Yeah, that was it, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Justin,
love that.
were you at San and Teresa when
The guy that had a shotgun?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, what?
So on Friday, this was a Friday, right? And no,
I
was
knew you were going to bring this up.
so I actually wasn't there. I came later on and I
was
watched
there that day.
I watched all the footage because it was like late in Friday afternoon, like around 5 or 6 in the late afternoon, early evening. And this fucking hillbilly dude is carrying like a double barrel shotgun over his shoulder, and he's walking the complex.
Like all calm.
Yeah, all calm. Walks in the gym. Just walks right in the gym. Does a little fucking tour.
Looks around.
Yeah.
And is just like scoping the place out, and looking and dude, and remember Dirk? So this is the guy that we worked with.
I know Dirk. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was at the front, like he was about to leave. He just finished his shift, and like he walked right next to the guy. You see him like on camera, look at the guy. Oh, and then he like bolts. So I'm out of here.
We don't need to
Holy
see your
shit.
membership card. Come on in.
Yeah, nothing happened, but I mean, you just
No.
don't think something like that's going to happen, especially here in California. I guess maybe if you're
Yeah, if you're like in Texas, or
Texas.
something, that's probably normal.
yeah, but you're in
He
California.
was obviously looking for somebody though. That's what was scary about it.
Oh.
You're like,
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, he came in and he was just like looking around. He did a little, and everyone's just like, everyone freezes.
Yeah.
He walked in and everyone just like stood.
what's
just-
gonna happen?
Yeah,
Oh,
what
shit.
the fuck?
Yeah, I think I was working that night, and I was on the floor, and I just looked over and I saw what was it didn't register even yet, until like I watched that film later. I was like, oh my god,
That's crazy. And with that, go to mindpumpfree.com and download our guides. They're all absolutely free. You can also find all of us on Instagram. You can find Justin at mindpumpjustin. You can find Adam at mindpumpadim, and you can find me at mindpumpsal.